guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled Newborn in Arms and Still Approached. So, I was at the Mart of Walls today getting some groceries. I, 33F, was distracted by the clearance seasonal aisles. Who can ignore 50% off? I know I couldn't and neither could others. The aisles were packed with people like it was Black Friday 2.0. Since I didn't want to get in the way with my cart and family, I opted to leave my husband and my 12-year-old daughter with the cart and go hunting myself. Earlier in the shopping trip, my newborn daughter started fussing and grumping. Being an adorable little baby, I picked her up from her car seat and was just carrying her around while I wound through the aisles. The walking motion helps her to stay calm and go back to sleep. I'm wandering down the third aisle of Christmas leftovers and am approached by this boy who was around 10 years old. He was holding a candle in his hands and had an expectant look in his eyes. "Little boy, can you tell me how much this would be if it's 50% off?" A little baffled as to why he approached me when I literally have my newborn in my arms, I recovered. He was polite and there was no worker nearby. I'd be avoiding that area too if I could help it. Me. Well, let's see if we can find a price tag. Little boy. There isn't one. But I really want to get this and only have so much money. Of course, my heart was moved and I started to try to fish out my phone from my pocket. I was going to use the scanning feature on my app for the store to get a price for it. Another shopper overheard what was going on and pulled out their phone and scanned it right away. We told the kid how much it was and sent him on his way back into the crowds. I know this isn't the usual posting done here, but it was cute and I wanted to share. And I'm still confused as to why he approached me of all people when I had a snoozing baby in my arms. The next story is titled The Time a Woman Snapped Her Fingers at Me. So, I'm in Rexall, which is like CVS in the States, looking to pick up some soda, pop for my fellow Canadians, for my father-in-law. At the time I was working for a paint retailer that's pretty big in BC and Alberta, where I live. The staff at the Rexall wear jeans, but they have black polo shirts and name tags, so I'm not wearing what they would be wearing. I'm a tall black woman, who was wearing jeans, and a gray hoodie with the company's name in huge letters on the back. So, as I'm standing in front of the stacks of soda, trying to find the 7-Up, I see it's at the bottom of the pile. So I'm bent over, trying to pull out 2 6-packs, when I hear someone snapping their fingers and clearing their throat. I ignore it, as I'm thinking to myself, no, she can't be snapping at me, that's ducking rude, and I keep digging for my buried treasures. I hear the snapping again, and I hear Karen yell, "You, girl, at the soda, get over here and do your job. Why are you making customers wait? Get over here and cash me out." As I straighten up, I look her and say I don't work here. Right as I say that, I see the cashier who is running the till come from the back and ask who's next. The old bat looks at me, with a look of disgust, like I should have obeyed my master and got behind the till to ring her out, and goes to pay for her stuff. I just grabbed my soda and got in line behind her. I wish that this was more exciting, but that was it. The only reason I mentioned that I'm a black woman, as it was small-town Alberta, and there aren't a lot of POC out that way, so people would assume I worked at whatever store I happened to be shopping at. The next story is titled Started Sweet, Then Turned Sour. I love books. So I take my kids into bookstores all the time. So I was in the kids section helping my youngest look at different books when another little boy asked me where the bad kitty books were. So since I was there I showed him, he thanked me then went back to what I was doing. All fine, right? Then a little while later I was looking at books for myself when his mother comes up to me and asks me where the mystery thrillers were. I don't read that genre so I told her I wasn't sure. She said, "You must be new. This is the part where you help me find them. I told her I didn't work there, I was just a customer. She tells me if I don't help her she'll tell my manager. I tell her to go ahead because I don't have one. She starts following me telling me how horrible I am because I helped her son but not her, that she's going to get me written up. My son comes up to me at that point ready to leave. I thought that would make it clear to her I didn't work there. Nope, she got even more mad that I brought my child in to work with me. She followed me all the way to the register and demanded they get a manager because I am the rudest employee she ever encountered. The woman at the register was confused. The manager came over, told her I didn't work there. Then the woman tells me, if you had just taken the time to help me find my book, this wouldn't have happened. My son, who always has something to say to escalate a situation, tells her, that's not how you say sorry. Mom says you say it without making an excuse. I hustled him out of there quickly, but couldn't tell him he was wrong, he had a point. The next story is titled Neighbor Lets Herself In While I Am Home Alone. The cast tilde entitled Neighbor, F40s, N, me, 16F, M. I was, to my knowledge, alone and taking a shower, as my parents had gone out to run an errand. I had the window in the shower slightly ajar so I could hear when my parents pulled into the driveway and opened the front door. About 5 minutes later I heard the front door open and shut. My first thought was, oh, my parents are home, and I continued my shower. Foolish as I am, I didn't think twice at the fact that I didn't hear the car pull in. I finished not long after. I walked out the bathroom fully clothed, thankfully, and began skipping to the living room. Then on the couch seated was a middle-aged woman who I definitely did not know, drinking some of my older sister's juice, meaning she had been in our fridge unconsented. I was a bit too stunned to speak, not scared per se as this woman looked harmless and appeared to be unarmed. I tried to reach for my phone on the dining table to call the police, but she stood up and blocked me. I could apprehend her if necessary. However, this woman easily looked like one of my mother's clients, and my mother has a tendency of letting people over without informing me beforehand, so I thought this could be another instance, so I was not overly concerned. The following conversation ensued tilde N. You look just like your mother M. I look nothing like my mother N. Oh? But you have your brother's eyes M. I don't have a brother N. Ah, then you're your father's daughter M. You would know better than me. I haven't seen him in 5 years. This was false. But I wanted to see if she knew this. N. Who are you? M. That's my question. Why are you in my house? N. Your house? You're a child. Don't speak to me like that. Where are your parents? No joke. This woman really had the audacity to say this. M. None of your concern. Kindly leave before I call the authorities. N. You. What kind of people raised such a snobby idiot? M. Excuse me. Mind your manners in my home. Move aside please. I step around her and brush her with my shoulder as I grab my phone. N begins banshee screaming that I have assaulted her by shoving her aside. I get my phone about to call my parents when I heard the garage door opened. I thank whatever Lord there is and rush to the door. I run to my dad and started babbling about the strange woman who trespassed into our home while I was showering. Less than 20 minutes later cops are pulling up to our home and N is escorted to the station. My dad had told her to stay put if she didn't want him to press charges. We then find out she is our new neighbor, and this was her attempt of getting to know us. I am mortified and express my opinion to my dad that he should press charges. N begins banshee screaming again that he said he wouldn't. After a quick look at our home security cameras, our case was proclaimed valid and my dad is pressing charges. I don't know the mechanics or specifics of it all, but I'm happy he took my opinion into consideration. The next story is titled Guy Thought I Worked at Bank and Yelled at Me in Front of Everyone. I work at a car dealership. We have a company policy where when someone wants to pay with a cashier's check, we have to accompany them at the bank to avoid fraud. Anyway, I was at the bank with my clients. The bank was very busy, with few workers. There was a long line for tellers, and the people waiting started getting a little grumpy, all talking amongst each other about the slow service. Eventually this old guy in line looks at me and says, "Why don't you quit standing around and get back there?" And I looked at him shocked and confused. He said, "Yeah, I'm talking to you. Quit being lazy and get back there and do something." I said, "I don't work here." And he said, "Oh sure you do. I see your uniform and name tag." I responded, "Yeah, no, this is for car dealership. I work there." He didn't say a single word in response. It was quiet and awkward. Maybe 5 minutes later he asked if name of my coworker still works there. Turns out, he's a long-term customer of ours and has bought 4 of our cars LMAO. I saw him in the dealership the other day and smiled at him. The next story is titled Lady I Don't Work Here and Neither Do the Police. So this happened back before everyone had a camera in their pockets, and man do I wish this entire thing was recorded and plastered on social media. So my girlfriend used to work for a large convenience store with a pharmacy inside it. You know the place. I would drop her off and pick her up every day. That day I just got done with filling out licensing and permitting so I could open my shop. This means I was wearing a suit and tie. Do you see where I messed up yet? Well, hold on kids, it's going to get worse. So I get to the store and my GF isn't outside, so I walk in. She sees me and tells me her relief is running late and she can't leave yet as her manager was unloading a truck. So decided to wait for her relief as he was going to be there in 15 minutes. Now something to note about this store: the store manager, the 2 assistant managers, the pharmacist and the assistant pharmacist are all women. So a woman, let's call her Karen, comes in, not looking the typical Karen look. Instead she looked like a typical meth head. Karen asks where the cold medicine and my GF tells her it's in aisle 4C. Karen snapped back with, I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to your boss who needs to stop flirting and help customers. I turn and say, I don't work here. Karen snaps with, then why are you behind the counter? I wasn't, I was standing to the side of the counter. I just say to her, piss off lady, I don't work here. Karen storms off and about 5 minutes later she back at the front demanding to know where the pharmacist is. GF says, Katie, fake name, should be back there. She might have stepped away for a minute. Karen getting angry says, I said I want to speak to the pharmacist. Not some bimbo playing pretend. Where's the white man that works there? GF, she's been the only pharmacist in her for the past 6 years ma'am. Karen, stop lying, turning to me, well where is he, you useless excuse for a manager. I stand up and look her dead in the eyes saying, get this through your thick ducking skull. I don't work here. The manager and my GF's relief come out because of the shouting. I can be quite loud and my tone scared a few customers. The manager demands, what the hell is going? Karen, I want to speak to the owner now. Manager, I am the store manager. Karen, nice try but I see the man in charge behind you. Manager, he's a cashier and you need to leave now. Karen to the relief, you're going to let her talk for you. Manage, GF call the police now. Now here's where things get mental. The lady starts throwing things. She lost her damn mind and broke a register, several displays and tried to assault people. When the police arrived and I crap you not, she called them rent-a-cops and demanded to speak to the owner. The police somehow managed to detain her and put her in the back of the squad car, where she kicked at the windows. The EMTs came and gave her a sedative and took her to the hospital. I believe that where they went. The police officer said to us that she is definitely on some kind of drugs as they can see the signs. They also checked her purse and found something in there. Sorry, I don't think they said what it was, and if they did I don't remember. The store had to be closed to clean up the mess Karen made. And this is why I am glad we don't live near that area anymore. Finding out a tweaker went nuts was normal in that area. My GF quit shortly after that as another tweaker came in and threw up on the counter. She couldn't take it anymore. The next story is titled Why Do People Not Understand the Term, I Don't Work Here? So I work in a shop within a shopping center in Australia. A part of the employee uniform is that we wear an apron which has the store name embroidered on the front in bold, so it's not hard to guess where I work if I was walking around the shops on my break. As well as the apron, we also have a name badge which has the company name on it as well. The uniform for the store I went into has green shirts as a uniform and no apron. Anyway, enough background, but I was on my lunch break and I went into a supermarket to get some food. I'm minding my own business with my AirPods in as I generally don't like conversing with people, and my break is the time where I get to avoid that momentarily. So as I was filling my basket with some stuff for my lunch as well as fruit and vegetables for my bird, this lady approaches me and asks where X item is. I take out my earphone because I couldn't hear her properly. I guess that's when she realized I had earphones in? She lost her crap yelling about how employees shouldn't be listening to music on the job and customers come first, the whole charade. Mind you, she's yelling loud. I try to cut in to explain to her I don't work there, and she begins to cry crocodile tears because she's, quote, never been so disrespected in her whole life. At this point there are few people in the aisle and I can see they're looking at me with sympathy as they can clearly see I don't work in that store. So I stand there awkwardly waiting for her to be finished, however there is no sign of her stopping. Finally another customer walks over and tells her to look at my apron and that I do not work there. She huffs and replies in a very condescending tone with, "Well, she should have just told me that, it's her fault. Like what I tried to tell you." A 5-minute shopping trip ended up taking 10 minutes, but luckily my manager is nice and let me restart my break. The next story is titled Teacher for the Win. I was explaining, Karen, to my grandmother, and this was the only story I could think of to use as an example. I used to work retail. When I worked there, my manager and I would hide products when they were marked down for regulars that we liked. We had a regular who was this sweet older woman that I would totally adopt as my third grandma. We'll call her Gigi. I'd stopped in to chat with my former manager. While she was helping another customer, Gigi came in. I went to help her and talk to her. She was a retired teacher and liked to ask about my classes even though we taught very different ages. I'm checking hiding spaces for her and carrying her basket, so I kind of get where Karen is coming from. However, I'm wearing leggings and my school's homecoming shirt, so I'm not at all dressed appropriately. At this point though, we're done shopping, but manager is using the fact that I'm chatting with Gigi to continue helping the earlier customer, and I draw the line at getting behind the register for free. Karen must have seen me helping Gigi, and that we were no longer moving around the store to come over to us and said, "Now that you're done with her, you can help me." This is where I had to explain to my grandma that what makes a Karen is entitlement. Even if I had worked there, I clearly hadn't rung Gigi's items yet when she demanded my attention. "I don't work here." "You were helping her." "Yes." "Her." "I don't work here." "You obviously know your way around here, so just help me." At this point, I'm pretty sure that I looked at her, looked at myself, and then looked at manager. Presumably with the "what are you doing" expression generally reserved for my students. Now, with the superpower only elementary school teachers have, Gigi looked at Karen and sternly said, "Fairy tale doesn't work here. Manager does. Now stand over there and wait your turn." And Karen did. I decided it was time to leave, so I helped Gigi carry her stuff out after manager rung her up. Later I had to tell manager the rest of the story. The next story is titled, The What? Where's That? This happened a year or so ago. Was in my local supermarket, in the cleaners and detergents aisle. This older fella is wandering down the aisle with his trolley of items and taking on his phone. I didn't really pay attention at first, but soon notice he seems agitated. From his end of the convo it's clear he's been sent to pick up a particular item and he doesn't have the first clue how to find it. The person on the other end was presumably trying to describe it to him, with no success. He looks completely lost. So I quietly ask him if he needs help. This look of relief on his face was huge, and he says, "There's a lady here who can help," hangs up and names a brand of fabric softener. I knew the product and found it pretty quickly. He was stoked and grabbed two, saying he hoped two would mean he wouldn't end up having to find it again, at least for a while. Happy ending all round. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.